welcome to Magical Journey's Paranormal Journals. I am your host, Daniel Cahoon, and before we get started tonight, I'm going to bore you for a moment with some shameless promotion, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the Facebook. You can find Magical Journey on the Facebook group and the page for Magical Journey. Now, here's the difference. The page strictly has what's coming up next, what we're talking about currently, and any conversation that we're having revolving around the topic at hand for that week's live recorded show and now the journal. The journal is just starting tonight, in case you didn't notice the episode one. So with that, also know that we have magicaljourney.com, the website where you can find out all the dirt on Magical Journey and the brand and anything that's really out there for you to know or hear about. Also, you have the opportunity to go on there and book a reading with me or workings. Please note that there are only certain workings that I will do for the public, and the workings, like all magic, is not 100% guaranteed. However, the readings are fabulous, and I am an amazing reader, if I do say so myself. So, with that said, let's start the show. So tonight we're going to start off by a little bit of an introduction. What exactly is the journal about? Well, it's about the paranormal. And more importantly, it's about my paranormal research, which has been going on for a minute now. I started getting interested in the paranormal when I was like around 8 or 9 years old. And it has been an obsession with me ever since. Every book that I could get my hands on as a kid, every newspaper article, every television show, documentary, whatever that I could find on the paranormal, I was into it. Um, it didn't matter what it was about. It didn't matter how bad it was. It didn't matter like how tired I was, whatever. I would just plow into it if it was something on the paranormal. Uh, as I got older, I began to discover that research leads to something called investigation. And yes, I am working toward going back into doing investigation, which is part of what this journal is going to be about as well. Now, what parts of the paranormal are we going to discuss on here? Well, pretty much everything. Um, I have a wide variety of interests, and we're not just going to discuss the paranormal. We're going to discuss the parapsychology in general, and we're going to take up topics like um, channeling and possession and other interesting phenomena dealing with spiritual matters and so forth. And along with that, I hope to be showing you new evidence, um, not so new evidence that I've uncovered that has not always been made known to the general public. And of course, my findings on what my research and investigation has shown me at this point. So tonight, we're going to talk about a little bit about where I stand currently with some topics and some issues, because there's a lot of opinion out there. There's a lot of debate, a lot of people who have a lot to say about the paranormal. And while I agree with some things, I don't always agree with everything. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what I think about some of the things that people are saying and believing, and what I have found to be true for me over the years. I'm not necessarily going to present a lot of evidence tonight because I'm going over a few things, but this we will have evidence from time to time. We will discuss and look at a host of situations. Uh, so yeah, just not tonight. So let me tell you a little bit about um, my thought processes on one of the favorite subjects, which is ghost and the spirit world. So I have a few thoughts on some of this, and you may or may not agree with it. It's really not relevant to me whether you agree with it or not. This is just my thoughts on it. This is my thoughts based on things that I've experienced, I've seen, I've learned, I've read, and I've researched over time. So first of all, um, there's several different things going on whenever people uh, interact with spirits or they're investigating a haunting or so forth. The first and most obvious is they're dealing with the spiritual energy of people who are no longer alive. Uh, there are spirits out there, spirits of those who have moved on to the next step in life. These are hauntings that are intelligent hauntings, as I call them, where the spirit will engage and interact with its environment and the people and other living creatures that are in that environment. I say that because they'll engage with pets and so forth too from time to time. There is also residual hauntings, which is really just the idea of it's sort of like a recording um, where you'll see a person seemingly walking up a flight of stairs, or you'll hear the sound of laughter, or you'll see somebody walking across a room to the door, opening the door and leaving the room. Um, these are not intelligent hauntings. These these never change. Like I said, they're like sort of like a recording. It just plays over and over and over again. Uh, and it's not a true haunting in the sense of, yeah, you know what I'm saying here, right? It's just not, it's not the same. And I'll go into some of those sometimes. We'll go into that discussion a little deeper on another episode, and we will see, and over time, we will see a lot of evidence, a lot of stories, a lot of data, and so forth that has been gathered over time that will help you to decide on what you believe about the spirit world. Now, there's also different types of spirits or different type of energy and beings that get confused at times with hauntings. Obviously, dynamic forces, dark forces, negative forces, however you want to say it, uh, can definitely be a problem. And they will, in people engage with them, they will become very active in what appears to be hauntings. Um, in the case of dynamic forces, sometimes it is not necessarily what I would call a real haunting, but a possession. And they can possess houses and so forth, I believe, as well as people. Um, you can also encounter dynamic forces in cemeteries and other sacred sites. They are not immune, or they are not necessarily prohibited from going anywhere. As a matter of fact, genomic forces are found sometimes in churches and other things, other places that are considered holy. So yeah, there's that. And then there's a couple of other interesting things that I have found. Um, Celestial beings, which people will confuse from time to time with spirits, which honestly, if you really ever see a celestial being, I'm not sure how you would confuse that with a spirit, but okay. And the other thing is something that I call interdimensional beings. Um, these beings vibrate at a higher frequency, and they are not dense like we are. They are more transparent, and they can come across as being spirits, but they're not necessarily spirits. They're in it, they're vibrating at a higher frequency. And so they are more transparent, more light. And those are the main things. Those are the main um, types of things that you will come in contact with uh, in the spirit world. Now let's talk for a minute about um, another really controversial subject, and that's cryptids. There are so very many cryptids. So it's really hard to do a blanket statement on cryptids um, because there are so many different. There's like sea cryptids, there's air cryptids, there's earth cryptids. Cryptids actually live in the earth, in caves and in dirt and just everywhere. There's forest cryptids. There's cryptids that live in places like the Alps and so forth. Anywhere on the face of the earth that there's sustainable um, life, there's a good chance that there's a cryptid somewhere. Um, some of the more common cryptids that people talk about, Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Some people call them the tree people. Dogman is one that's become more popular to talk about in modern days. Um, Obviously, the Loch Ness Monster, even though Nessie is kind of a little passe because a lot of people are finally kind of to the point where they're convinced that Nessie is really just a hoax. Um, I don't necessarily believe that altogether yet. Just don't believe it yet. Sorry. Um, you've got the Mothman. The Mothman is a whole story in itself because um, some people believe that the Mothman is actually the Mothman, and others believe that the Mothman is a mistaken identity for giant owls. Um, I believe there's a good possibility that they are both. We'll once again, I will share uh, my experiences, um, my findings. I have not experienced the Mothman personally, um, but I have done research. And my understanding, my understanding is that um, sometimes there are people who mistaken the identity of giant owls for Mothman, but I also believe there are some legitimate sightings of Mothman that go on outside of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Um, I do not believe necessarily that cryptids are the descendants of fallen angels. We'll get into that at some point. I may go into that a little bit tonight, but I have a more rational explanation for who the Nephilim are than the descendants of fallen angels, because it's really hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that angels have a gender or they have the ability for reproduction, because I just don't believe they do. And I have my documented reasons to believe that. Now, with that said, um, I feel like one of the things that is really important to talk about when it comes to the cryptids is that they too can be interdimensional beings at times, I believe. Some may have extraterrestrial origin, possibly, likely, some of them. Um, I think it's very important for us to understand that when it comes to the cryptids, there's a lot of mythology and a lot of lore and speculation, and a lot of speculation because we don't know for a fact a lot of things about them yet. I mean, you really don't. We really don't. That's the problem. Um, there's a lot of things to be learned about them still. That's why they're cryptids. If they were identified and known, they would not be cryptids anymore. They would be known creatures. Um, ufology and UFOs and aliens and alien abduction. Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, I do believe that there are some extraterrestrials that are from other worlds. I do not necessarily believe that all extraterrestrials are from other worlds. I do believe that some of them are probably demons in disguise. I know that seems kind of far-fetched to some people, but it is a common belief among the people in the paranormal community that there are extraterrestrials that do seem to have dynamic qualities about them. With that said, there's a lot of interesting things, um, biblically and otherwise, that support both ideas on them. Now, let's talk about some of the things like telekinesis, the clairs, and other gifts, psychic gifts, and so forth. I believe personally, is my experience, that these are all things that are naturally born into us. Everybody can access them, some people better than others. And I think that the reason why more people aren't able to um, express these in their life is because they're not willing to do the work to learn how to master them. Yep, that's really what I believe. Um, so I don't think it's necessarily some great mystical thing, in the sense that I don't think, people are just like automatic, like 1 in a million people are born with one of the clairs or whatever. I don't believe that. I believe some people are wired to be more prone to some on an easier level than others. But I don't think that just certain people are born to be like superheroes or something like that. No. Do I believe there are people who are more likely to engage in paranormal activity and have gifts? Absolutely. So, those are some things to think about when it comes to um, the paranormal. Some of my findings are a bit interesting. Wow, that was my phone going off in a very inopportune moment. Um, and I'm not even sure what that was about. But anyway, sorry about that. Um, it's a recording. I do not edit a lot of things. I treat it just like my lives. It's a show that you just get what you get with it. Um, if the door falls off the hinges, it's going to be on there. But hopefully, a door won't fall off the hinges because I don't like those things. Uh, so let's talk very quickly for a few moments about um, divination and some of those other things that appear to be gifts that only certain people have or whatever. I don't necessarily believe that either. I think that anybody can learn to use their intuition uh, to do divination. I believe anybody can learn to tap into the ability uh, of any of the clairs. Again, I think some people are wired more towards certain ones than others, but I think equally everybody has the opportunity to be able to know how to perform these activities. Um, that's my been my experience. Doesn't necessarily have to be the popular opinion. Um, what else? What else? What else? I know there's something else that I wanted to talk about, and I'm losing my concentration. Um, it is Samhain, and the veil is definitely thin tonight. Um, some of the things that I have learned about the paranormal through my findings, I do believe there are some people that are more prone to experience paranormal activity. I believe there are some people that are more prone to experiencing, acknowledging paranormal activity, ghost sightings, UFOs, seeing cryptids, whatever type of thing that happens with them with cryptids. Some of them, some people talk about just seeing them. Some people talk about mind speak, um, engaging, interacting. There's a lot of differences in people's relationship with the cryptids. I will say that. Um, over the years, one of the things that I've definitely learned is that there is some science behind some of the things that we will learn about and talk about in this particular in the journals. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. I ran across one of the things I ran across this week is the oldest photograph of a UFO that is known to exist. It was taken in the 1800s, somewhere crazy in the 1800s. Um, and it was a very convincing photo to me. So unless they debunk the photo and prove it to be differently, I'm going to hold the stance that it is 100% genuine for right now. I do not have a degree in anything that would make me be able to look at it and go, yep, that's a real photograph. I mean, it looks like a photograph. It looks like a real photograph. The brown lady looked like a real photograph to me, though. And now they're saying that's a hoax. So I don't know. I don't know what this hard, steadfast rule to discerning those things are. Um, Overall, though, I think it's very important for people to, like, if you're going to study the paranormal, if you're going to engage with the paranormal, I think it's very important to start coming up with beliefs. Uh, What is it? Where is it from? What is it doing? What does it want? So, yeah, I think without those things, without those tools, uh, the many questions, it's really easy to get stuck in the box, um, and believe whatever people feed you. Um, this is one thing with the paranormal that I am not okay with is when people start trying to lead you to believe their narrative without any evidence, without any reasoning, without anything to back up why they believe the way they do about things. Okay, so that's my warning and spiel for the day on that. So I'm going to try to wrap this up because I don't want this to be a long episode because it is an introduction episode and it has been a long week and I'm tired. It's been a long night. Trick or treaters just stopped coming around a little bit ago, and I was able to restart the video and start the show all over again a couple of times already. So from here on out, though, the episodes will run on Thursdays. They will be a normal format with normal hours, and uh, it will be on a host of subjects over time. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Remember that Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time is my live broadcast. Tuesday is my recorded show. Sometimes it has just me, sometimes it has me with a guest. Check it out. And now this, which will drop on Thursdays. Just know that as we start to move into this time of year, and we have that time to slow down and rest and think about things, that because of the emotional part of the year that is a lot of times, you're going to be open to more paranormal experiences, and that's okay. Just be ready and be prepared for it. Meanwhile, I'm your host, Daniel Cahoon, and this is Magickal Journey and Magickal Journey's Paranormal Files. I look forward to seeing you each week as we discuss new topics and new ideas and maybe even a few conspiracies. I love you guys. and may your journey always be magical.